The room at the embassy was cast in a gloom, the only light coming from the evening outside. The fireplace was not lit, and all was silent. The hooded man lingered near the door, his eyes cast around the space, spying for any guards or the like. No one was seated in the armchairs, nor the couch. The only other person in the room was laying on the canopy bed on his left. His eyes now darted to his quarry. The young woman was fast asleep, her breathing slow. Her dark skin contrasted her white nightgown. A smirk ran across his lips. It would almost be too easy. He stepped forward. His leather boots gave off no sounds as he stalked. He drew a dagger. The blade was black, pitch black, reflecting no light. He crept forward, placing each boot with care. Though as silent as he was, he did not anticipate a creaking floorboard. Pashara startled awake, and her eyes fell upon the man. For a brief moment, they looked at each other. Then he lunged at her. She rolled to the side, falling off the opposite side of the bed. Dazed, she lingered on the floor. She heard him whisper something, and suddenly he stood over her. He stooped and brought the dagger down. She kicked his ankle, and he stumbled back, muffling a yell. Pashara rose as swiftly as she could. She lifted her hand to create a barrier. It formed just as he lunged at her once more. He was stopped, but the blade sank through, and it was eating the barrier. She knew that dark iron could go through barriers, but this blade wasn't just going through. It was devouring the magic. In panic, she pushed the assassin away with a spell. He crashed against an armchair. She ran towards the door, reaching for the knob. But suddenly he stood before her, shadowy smoke lingering around him. Come now, no need to run, he said with a grin. She backed away as he approached. She brought up a new barrier, but again the blade sank through it. The barrier kept him from coming close, but the blade ate at her magic. Fear crept across her face. There's no escape. The blade ate at the barrier, and no matter how much magic she used to keep it up, it was failing fast. Barriers were expensive, and her store of magic was running out. She felt it. The discomfort, the nagging feeling, the pain. Not physical, but a pain of the mind. It was mounting, increasing with every passing second, until it was too much. The stream of magic going into the barrier ceased, and the assassin fell upon her. He was taken slightly off guard by the barrier's sudden collapse, and they both fell to the floor, he on top of her. A second passed before he brought the blade down, but she caught his arm. For a moment, she managed to keep the blade at bay, but he was strong, and slowly the dagger inched towards her chest. Her mind was numb from the loss of magic, and her arms were slow and sluggish. She could hear her heart thumping in her ears, the drumming drowning out all other sounds. She tried to call for help, but her voice came out as a whimper, which her assailant seemed to find very amusing. His smile grew. He said something, but she barely registered it, being too focused on the blade. Panic was setting in. There was only one thing she could do. She had to pull on her magic, even if her reserve was low. It was dangerous. Death was a serious risk if the reserve fell too low. But she didn't really have much choice. She closed her eyes and tried, to the best of her ability, to cut through the numbness and pain and focus. The pain that shot through her could not be described. It seemed to come from all her body at once, yet it was not of the body. It took attention. It craved attention. And it was hard to focus. Yet she forced herself to weave the magic into a spell. He was suddenly flung away from her, crashing against the wall. There was a snap, then a thud, as he fell to the floor. There he remained, unmoving, still. Pashara lay still, her chest rising and falling. She was gasping for air, but every breath fell short. Pain flooded her mind, demanding all her attention. She could do nothing but lay there, agonizing second after agonizing second. But eventually it subsided, the pain not disappearing, but settling into something that was manageable. She lifted herself up. Her arms shook, but they held firm. Her breath was still swift, but had begun to slow. She sat as such for at least a minute. She gazed at the assassin. He had not moved. He did not breathe. She pushed herself to her feet, and on unsteady legs stumbled over to him. She knelt before the form of the assassin, and she noticed his blade. In the frenzy, it had not seemed important to take more note of it than as a danger. But now she noticed its peculiar nature. The blade was black, an elongated void attached to an iron handle. Black leather covered the hilt, and a smooth onyx had been set within the pommel. The crossguard was decorated with strange carvings, vine-like decor snaked into intricate patterns. Yet images of a face could also be seen, as well as glyphs that were beyond her knowledge. She did recognize one of the glyphs. Oros, it was called. An arcane glyph used by Thelden of old, yet predating them. It represented darkness and shadows. There was something about the dagger. Its very presence seemed unnatural. There was an unease, and the room felt cold. It felt wrong, as if the blade was unnatural. And yet there was something about it, something that she could not place her finger on. A feeling she did not understand. She reached for it, her right hand grasping at the hilt. Bringing the dagger up, she touched the blade itself. She retracted her hand almost immediately. The feeling of wrongness was even greater when she had laid her hand upon the metal. Or was it metal? It had felt glass-like. She rose to her feet again and went over to the bed. Sitting down, she gazed at the blade. She could not pull her eyes away from it. Suddenly the door was flung open. She swiftly, and unintentionally, hid the blade within her pack at the foot of the bed. Guards rushed in, as well as Tevilithan and Huldra. She saw a small cut on the dark elf's arm, blood trickling from it. He held two swords, blood dripping from the curved blades. "Pashara," he said, "you are right." The last words were said with a sigh. "Just as I said she would," Huldra said. One of the guards knelt down over the body, placing his finger to the throat. "Dead. What happened?" I awoke to see him standing over me," she said. What's happening?" "Assassins," Tevilithan said. "Two attacked me and Huldra. Fortunately, Huldra warned me in time," he said, looking down at his blades. "Been a while since I've used these." "I can't see a weapon," the guard said, looking about. "He didn't use a weapon. He used magic," she responded. "And I guess you had to use magic to defeat him? I doubt you have the strength to break his neck." Yes. Sorry. The guard looked at her, his face neutral, yet she could see disdain in his eyes. What is done, though I think the Grand Duchess will have some understanding this time. Did he say anything? Tevilithan asked. Only some taunts. Tevilithan nodded, his eyes narrowed in thought. The guard looked over at him. Any idea who they were? Who sent them? The same group that we have been investigating, I would guess. Tevilithan answered. Well, we have one alive. We'll make him talk. The guards began to leave the room. Only Tevilithan and Huldra lingered. Pashara's gaze fell upon the dead assassin. Huldra walked forward and sat down upon the bed. She placed her hand upon Pashara's shoulder. How are you feeling? I could have died, Pashara said, now fully beginning to comprehend what had happened. I knew you would survive. You are more capable than most would realize. We need to make sure there are no others, Tevilithan said. Huldra, come. The old woman rose and left with Tevilithan. A few seconds passed. Then Pashara brought forth the dagger once more, its black blade greeting her eyes. It still felt wrong, unnatural. Yet the feeling was more distant. Its weight felt right, and its handle seemed now to fit her hand perfectly. She turned it this way and that in the lantern light, yet no light was reflected on the blade.